Joining us right now is former prosecutor and criminal defense attorney at the Bianchi Law Group, David Bruno. David, good to have you.
Good morning, and thanks for having me.
Your reaction to the Facebook news?
Yeah, this is the information comes from the New York Times, two unnamed sources, so let's start there. But if there's a grand jury investigation at a district, then it's criminal. Yeah. It's criminal. Like, this is unrelated to any of the administrative action, unrelated to the consent order, unrelated to Cambridge Analytica.
So what are the implications of a criminal investigation for Facebook?
Oh, well, the grand jury subpoenas mean nothing, right? Because when we talk about criminal, you got to talk about presumption of innocence. Even for somebody that's charged, there's a presumption of innocence. And there's even more caution when it's just a grand jury subpoena. So in the event that crimes have been violated, it could be the corporation generally, could be individual officers, it could be board members. You know, it's limitless when you talk about criminal law.
Well, it's not just this investigation. This is in the Eastern District of New York. There's also a securities fraud investigation going on within the Justice Department in the Northern District of California related to the Cambridge Analytica scandal. There's the FTC looking into its behavior. Did it basically violate a consent agreement that it signed in 2011 over, again, shared data that deceived customers and consumers? And then also the Securities and Exchange Commission is looking into their behavior. Yeah. And what's going on is they keep saying that they're fixing problems, we're not doing this, and it turns up time and time again that they're not being, quite frankly, honest with the American people and regulators.
Great point, especially on the consent order, because they had problems releasing consumer data before the consent order in 2011. That's why there's a consent order. And they agreed not to release without the consent of the consumers. So the Cambridge Analytica issue is a potential violation, and they're still looking at that. Like you said, that's the California stuff. But it's interesting because New York is different. I think the New York investigation is completely different than Cambridge Analytica, which could be a sign for problems for safe.
So what exactly in New York is the crime they think?
Even the Times article itself says we don't know. We don't know how long it's been open, and we don't know what the scope is. All they know is that these two unnamed cell phone companies received grand jury subpoenas, and that's going to be a subpoena ducis tecum for records. So they're probably looking at the agreement between Facebook and the cell phone companies, as well as any data that was received and exchanged between the two.
This is totally separate from Elizabeth Warren's proposal to break up the big tech companies, but it certainly adds, you know, more political pressure and more weight to her proposal.
You think they'll break up? They'll be forced to break up?
I was talking about this on in the morning show a couple days ago. I think ultimately, yes. But right now, no. It would be under the antitrust laws. They could proceed under those laws or through new laws by Congress. That would potentially be something that could affect these companies.
Congress will start by putting up roadblocks to additional acquisitions by these companies.
Right.
Again, buying up the smaller companies and essentially buying them up and then shutting them down just to own and sit on top of technology that might be valuable and increase their market share. That'll be the first step. It won't be breaking them up.
Right. When's Congress going to act? This was in the forefront last year when we were talking about Cambridge Analytica.
Yeah, well,
now,
they got many of the CEOs to come down and testify last year.
Yeah, exactly. Zuckerberg himself testified last year.
David, good to see you.
Yeah, pleasure.
Thanks so much. David Bruno there. We'll take a short break.